All right, real excited to talk to my next guest on the Sports Card Shop guest line. I've gotten to know this gentleman a little bit before he's coming on the air today. He's got a product we're definitely going to talk about because I am a huge fan, but we're going to learn a little bit about he's a collector like most of us probably listening, and we're going to learn about that as well. So without further ado, Steve Sousa from Slab Museum, welcome.
Thank you, John. I've been a big fan of what you do podcast wise and a hobby for many years. So this is really exciting for me to be on your show. So thank you.
Well, I appreciate it. I know you're busy. You're doing lots of things. One of them we're definitely going to talk about. We're going to save the best for last, as they say. And it's the kind of the first time someone's on the program. I always kind of have them start out with kind of how they got their start in their hobby, what they collect, kind of that timeline, that chronology, if you will. So how where did it all begin for you?
Sure, sure. Well, I was born and raised in Allentown, Pennsylvania, and grew up a big, of course, Philadelphia sports fans of all four major teams. I was very lucky. I'm 57 years old, so I consider myself like a very great age to be a collector when you're a young kid, because in the mid 70s, collecting, for me, was much more fun than it is today. I bet for young kids, because number one, cards were much more affordable. You could find cards everywhere. You could go to the local 7-Eleven, the local grocery store. You could always find trading cards. And I was always a lover of all four major sports. So I went from the baseball to the football to the basketball to the hockey for many years, and I bought a little bit of everything. My father was not a collector, but he was actually a really big supporter. So we would go to flea markets together and we would go through the bins and pick out our favorite Phillies and Red Sox cards. So that's how I kind of started collecting. And then for good or bad, I probably tell the story like many other people on your channel. I went off to college later in life and got away from cards really for many, many years and just focused really on my professional and family life. And then I want to say about 2015, I went on eBay randomly and started looking at cards again. Now, the sad part of the story I have to tell you is my childhood collection somehow evaporated from when I left college till when I went back to my childhood home later as an adult. So when I got back really into the hobby around 2015, I was starting from scratch. And of course, over the years, I would look at the different cards, and there were so many new manufacturers at that time. It just wasn't Topps or Flair or Dunrust like that I knew from a kid. So it was a little bit of a confusing time when I first got back in. So I didn't buy a lot at that time. I went back. I found some cards from the 70s and the 80s of things I liked. I wasn't opening wax. And I was just kind of buying really slowly of things that I liked. And then, of course, around the pandemic time, I think, once I start to really realize what graded cards were in the hobby, that kind of like really piqued my interest too. Not necessarily, John, because of what the dollar value would represent in having a graded card, but I thought, boy, you're really kind of preserving sports card history here. Today are obviously in graded slab. It is nice that okay, you're basically qualifying a dollar amount in some ways to these cards, but you're also preserving them, and that's kind of what I kind of got into just collecting graded cards. I also have tons of raw cards. Right around the pandemic time, 4 years ago. So that I have a very kind of common story, I think, for a lot of people, our age in the hobby today.
Yeah, and you make a great point too with the preservation, right? It's something I even talk about. Like, you know, uh, we know sunlight and other variables will deteriorate a car just naturally. So that slab just adds a layer. It doesn't, like you said, doesn't all have to be about the dollar sign. But listen, I've even heard people like, oh, I don't care what my collection's worth, and then they open a pack and pull something, and you hear them say, hey, what's this go for? So I think it's human nature to wonder what's this going for if I ever decide to, sell it or monetize it. I don't think you have to apologize. I don't think anyone has to apologize for it. It may not be the reason we're doing it, but it's just natural to like wonder, hey, what's this worth, right? It's just I think it's human nature. So
Yeah, for
you know,
sure.
and with graded cards, there's just the provenance, right? We know there's people out there making fake cards. Unfortunately, they get better at that every year, and so this it's up to the graded card companies themselves. It's like a chess match; they got to stay ahead of those folks, and so it gives provenance and authenticity to your collectibles, preservation, as you mentioned, all those together. It's important. So, do you still collect Philadelphia stuff? Have you changed as an older collector from your younger collector days?
Yeah, actually, John, that's a good question because it kind of fits in exactly what kind of started this business of me creating these slab displays. And about a year ago, I kind of like a lot of collectors, I said, okay, I got to get focused in my collection because I'm buying a lot of miscellaneous stuff. And a lot of it wasn't necessarily meaningful. So I decided what I was going to do was I was going to kind of do the PSA Hall of Fame registry from 1967 to 1980 of baseball players. And I was going to identify really, say, the 40 best cards within those years. So you would have 14 years times 40 cards. So 560 cards I was going to try to focus on getting in either PSA or SGC slabs, really. And what I did was I had 14 cardboard boxes that I was using basically to put these 14 years in. And I had them labeled 1967 all the way up to 1980. And I had them on a display wall, which is in my office. And one day last fall, John, I looked up on the wall and I said to myself, this is not very appealing. I was not finding joy actually in my new defined focus on collecting because visually I just couldn't see the cards. Um, and I had a friend come by the house around the same time, and he wasn't a collector. And he said, "Hey, I want to see your collection." I brought him in down to my office where my cards are displayed, and he's like, "Okay." Like I see a bunch of shoe boxes on the wall. And at that time, I really decided, okay, I'm going to figure out a better way to display my collection. And from there, I was in my professional life in the footwear business. I travel back and forth to Asia quite a bit, and my specialty really is in Asia sourcing. And I had a design that I came up with that is what really stemmed to making these slab museums today. And I went to a factory, a high-end acrylic factory, and we were able to make a product where you can visually see your graded cards in a case, and they would be made in a way that they would fit the 5 or 6 major grading companies all in one case.
Yeah, and that I want to speak to that too. That's not easy to do. A lot of times you see with some of these cases, they're only, hey, it holds this company's cards or it holds this company's cards. And so if you have 3 or 4 different companies, now you have to buy 3 or 4 different cases. Obviously, financially, that gets to be a bigger bill, a bigger burden. It might take up even more space because now you have 4 cases. Maybe they're half full instead of 2 cases that are completely full. And so while we're talking about it, I got one. I was nice enough to be able to get one of these, and I mean, the video is not even going to do this justice unless you see this in person. For those watching on video, I'm holding up. This is the one that holds 20. This sits on my desk. It's got a magnet at this top. And what I love about the top, Steve, is you got to really take it off. It doesn't fall off.
Right.
It doesn't you look at it funny. It doesn't slide off. You gotta like want to take it off to get it off. I like that because a lot of like other cases, you just touch it, it slides right off or it comes off, and it just aesthetically, right? It's just clean. It's just nice. I'll kind of spin it around. You can see the cards. In mine, I have SGC and PSA graded cards. And this is the 20. You also currently have a 40. I actually have
Correct.
one of those. It's over there on my shelf. but it's basically the same as this, but another side. And I love these. I'm not saying that anyone that knows me, I don't just chill for things. If I use it and I like it, I'll say I use it and I like it. If I
Yeah.
don't like it and I don't use it, you either won't know about it or I just won't speak of it. So
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
and it is when you think about cardboard or corrugated boxes, right? When you think about the hobby, right? I have, even besides the Slab Museum, I have just individual cards on little stands all
Yep.
around me,
Yep.
and you want to see your cards, right? You're proud of your collection. You built it. You want to show it off. Not even necessarily anyone else potentially, but yourself, right? You want to look at it, pick it up, hold it. The cards out of the Slab Museum come in and out very easy. You don't have to wrestle with them or anything like that. They just slide in and out. You can put them in whatever order you want to by graded company. If you have a
Yep.
certain player, you want to keep them together. Very easily done. You can move them around. These things are great, and again, uh, when they're sturdy. A lot of times with cases, sometimes one of the knocks I'll have on them is like, that's not, that falls
Mm.
or hits or it bumps up against something else, it's going to get cracked or scratched up. These things, when you say heavy acrylic, you're not kidding. These things, this is going to get heavier. The older I get, this will be heavier to lift each year. And so, just
Yeah.
well done. You asked my opinion.
Yep.
You said give me the straight scoop. Don't be shy. I did, and I really, even the base. It doesn't rock. It's gonna be level. So your stuff's not gonna be rattling around unless you're throwing the things around, which that any
Yeah.
case could happen.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, it's well done. I guess one of my questions, you know, you always ask how many times did you rip up a design and like redo it until you
Eh,
got kind of
Yeah.
a final product?
That's a good question, John. And the truth is, this was like the original design was a first time prototype. The only thing I had to do was adjust a little bit the size of the slots to be able to figure out how to get all the different grading card slabs, because as you know, they're different to fit in one. But this was one where we kind of nailed it, believe it or not, first try. And when I first got into this, John, I did not make these slab museums cases to be sold. My original intention was I was going to make 15 of them for myself, for my own personal collection. This was not supposed to be some type of little business endeavor. And what happened was, after I got my prototypes, and you see the little wall that I built behind me, I went out and I put it in some of the Facebook groups that I am, part of, especially in the vintage world, and just to display my collection of, hey, this is what I did. And I got a lot of feedback of, oh my gosh, what are those display pieces? We've never seen those before. And I said, well, I kind of built these for myself over in China, and I brought them back. And then, of course, that opened up, can you make me one? And I had about 100 people from just one Facebook page saying, I'd like to buy these. And I didn't even have them priced or anything. So what I did was I made the two different sizes, the smaller case and the larger case, and I had them shipped from China to my garage here in St. Louis. And I was selling them in my garage for the first month just through Facebook pages. And at that time, too, there was a couple of things that I think that really confirmed to me that, wow, I might be on to something. One of them was very early on, I had a collector who bought some cases from me. And this gentleman lives down in the Florida area, but he is really one of the holders, I would say, of the many Grail cards in our hobby. And he had sent me an email saying, hey, can I speak with you? And I reached out to him and we spoke. And then I found out that he has an absolutely amazing collection. And he's right now displaying everything in my cases. So that was pretty exciting to start. Also, I was able to really get a promotional lift through the show, The Card Life, which was shot in St. Louis here and aired in February. And the timing was really right. And probably that show alone gave me like my first 500 sales just from that. And it goes, it's a national show. It goes across the country. So that was like perfect timing for to really like kick off to what I was doing. And then at the same time, I had sent some cases early on to a couple of people in the hobby, like, Mike, baseball card collector, and a couple other people, because I didn't know them at all. They didn't know me, but I sent them some cases just saying, hey, can you please just look this over and tell me if you like this or don't like it? Because I respected their opinion. And Victor, who is one of the great guys in this hobby too, Victor was kind enough to actually put me on his show, Victor, Rookie Card Specialist. And again, that just kind of had like some reconfirmation to me that like I'm on the right track of what I'm doing. I'm a big believer in, how do you make your own collection look more beautiful? You said it earlier on. And a lot of my early sales, John, I'm selling actually to hobbyists who are putting these on their desk, right? I was a guy before I even had these, like even at my office right here, like I got cards on my desk with my other work stuff. I just like to look at cards while I'm working all day. And I found out I wasn't the only one. So this idea of actually like always buying more cards to, make your collection better. Maybe we should all just take a step back and say, hey, let's just work with the cards we got. And how do we figure out how to display them better, how to appreciate them better? And that's kind of like really the message of what we're doing. You had asked me earlier if, we had plans on developing more and more new products. And that answer is 100% yes. So I'll go back a step. So when I first created these sales kind of really via Facebook, before we even had a website, one of the things I didn't anticipate was that most of the people who actually purchased cases from me, they all sent me emails after they got the cases, and they sent me pictures of their slabs fully loaded in their cases. And I would go back and forth in many emails, and they were just so excited to show me their collection now because visually it looks so neat to them. And the other thing, I got to tell you from a product design standpoint, when I was building this, I wanted to build a product that actually would fit into everybody's room. And what I meant by that is, certain people, their hobby room or their desk, it might be a mahogany desk. It may be a clear white desk. Their shelves might be black. Another person's is white. So with that being said is like, if you're going to make a fixture, it has to blend in with everybody's room. And I think we've kind of nailed it by making something crystal clear like this that can really fit in absolutely everybody's hobby room. It doesn't matter if it's a modern or traditional or anything like that.
Or like me, you could have a glass desk, and this definitely uh, checks all the boxes with a glass desk. So it's a great point, right? You're thinking even a little bit outside the box, like even in a great case.
Yes.
What materials is this thing going to be setting on, where this will color match, not cause a clash or look odd. I think you nailed it, and it's interesting to hear you say like, "Hey, I designed these for me first." So like
Right.
if you're going to design something for yourself, right, you're going to design it the best. Like and I don't
Right.
mean this. I don't want to paint everyone with a broad brush, but sometimes when something's mass produced, corners are cut, or
Yep.
it just becomes about dollar signs only. This was a project for you. Like, what do I want? I want this to look nice. I want this to be my backdrop, and it
Yep.
was so nice of a product. People were like, I want that too. Like you hit a home run.
Yes.
I want a part of that home run. So I think the fact that it's sort of an organic business, it didn't start out like that and went that way. there's something to be said about that than someone that just woke up one day and said, "Hey, how can I sell 1 million of these?" And
Correct.
you know, there's a difference there. Someone may disagree, but I don't. I think, if I was, I'm not mechanically inclined, and I can't draw. My dad's an artist. My son is very good. It skipped me. That gene skipped me. But you know, if I was going to do something for myself, I'd want to do it the best way, and that's what you did. And then people loved it, and it's just the groundswell, right? You mentioned,
Yes.
being on Victor's show, the Card Life, having other people kind of critique it. Number
Yep.
one, it also shows that you care about others' opinion, even though sometimes we love stuff ourselves, and someone else might point out, "Hey, did you think about this?" Or, "Hey, I'm not a big fan of this part of it," right? It shows that you care about the product you're producing, and that's refreshing as well. So there's probably a few companies that could take a page out of your book there, like this. And I tell you, the design on these with the acrylic and the crystal clear. I mean, this is great. Like, if I had a store in the '90s, but if I had a store today, I would try to incorporate these somehow in the store. Obviously, to even sell them to
Sure.
collectors who want to put their cards in them, but even put my store inventory in some way.
Yep.
Whether I make one. Let's say these all would be Jackson Holidays, and I
Yep.
label it like, "Hey, you want us? This is our Jackson Holiday graded card inventory." Put it, maybe not have it where people can necessarily just peruse it, but then put it on the counter and let people look through if they're looking for Jackson Holiday. Use him because he's a very popular,
Of
uh,
course.
candidate at the moment. So, player at the moment. So, there's many ways. I'm, as many know that listen to this program. I'm a show dealer. I do a couple shows a month. I got rid of all my cardboard shoe boxes and Munster boxes. I know I talked to you before we record, and I went to the BCW plastics. I would love to see these kind of a show version of these, and even upgrade and get rid of my not. And I love the BCW products, but I mean, these, they wouldn't hold a candle to clear acrylic, in my opinion. So,
Yeah.
there's always, you can always upgrade, and I'm a believer in I have this debate with a show friend of mine. He's like, he just puts stuff out there. He's got cardboard boxes, and he made a wood case. It looks great. It looks fine. I'm like, and he's like, "Man, you really do it up a nine. Is it worth it to do that?" I'm like, I think it is. I'm doing pretty good, but I just, I've always been like that, like a presentation guy. Like, I wanted to
Yeah.
look, if I was
Me
a
too.
consumer, I wanted to look clean and nice, and so I try to do that from the other side of the table as well. He's like, his argument. He said, "John, it really don't matter what it's in; it's what your price is. That's the selling point." And he's not wrong. He's not wrong, Steve.
Yeah.
But I think it's not as simple as that. I mean, that's probably, number one is price. You can overprice a card, put it in a really nice slab museum, and it may not sell. But if it's still priced right, I think the slab museum's going to grab the attention first, more than and then it comes down the price second. So I guess
Sure.
it's a two-way street. So we sometimes, when we're set up at a show, we'll have a little mini debate behind, in a friendly sort of way, behind the table. But that's just, to the quality of this. I mean, I would love to incorporate them, even on a show level. And it's one of those products, I like you're finding out, Steve, but when someone sees them up close, like even showing it on video like I did earlier, during the interview, to see them in person is a lot different than to see them in a photo. Like, I saw the photos first, and they look
Yeah.
great, and then when you open them and get them out of the boxes, and they're in your hand, and you see the quality and the build quality and how durable without cards in them, it's all the more impressive. So,
Yeah. Well,
the old line, pictures don't do it justice. I think that applies the slab museums
yeah. Thank
here
you. So
as
one
well.
of the quick things, John, where people would ask a lot
Yeah,
about,
go
because
ahead.
The acrylic that we use, they actually call this museum grade acrylic, which is part of how we came up with the Slab Museum name. But acrylic grade museum, you can only call it that type of spec if it's 96% UV protection. So from day one, when I was making this, because I want this to be a display that's out in the open, I wanted to find an acrylic that's, acrylic is actually stronger and clearer than glass. But the UV protection, I think, is a big story of this. One of the other questions I got a lot online early on was if my cards are in sleeves, my slabs, if they're in some type of protective sleeves, will they still work in your case? And the answer is yes. So there's enough room built into each slot that you do not have to take off.
I can, not to cut you off, I can attest to that, because they're actually, every one of these, and they're SGC and PSA both, they're all in sleeves, on, the case is in the sleeve itself and then in the slot. So you're exactly right. And they're not even like, it's not like I have to force them in. They go in nice and smooth and very, and for people who think that's not as easy as you make it sound,
Right.
you've got to test it out. Obviously, a PSA slab and an SGC slab are different sizes, regardless of whether they're owned by the same parent company. Now their slabs are different sizes, and as well as the other grading companies, right? I don't have any in this particular one, but back at CDC and there's 200 grading card companies. Some I've never even heard of, quite frankly. So that's not as easy as you make it sound. So again, I'll pat you on the back, maybe not myself on the back, but and like you said, it does fit. And here's the other thing: you talk about UV protection, right?
Yeah.
Sunlight. We all know sunlight over time breaks down the color of the card. I've seen it.
Yeah.
I've had it even happen with a card I've left out. Luckily, nothing of great value, but now once you get them in the slab, right, that offers some additional UV protection.
Correct.
But as you mentioned, with the museum grade acrylic, that even offers on top of that. So you're almost, in a sense, you're doubly protected. The slab itself, and then the slab museum case on top of that. And that's Dylan Davis, Double D Vintage.
Yep.
He's got a room with great cards. He talks about
Watch him all the time.
He has acrylic museum grade glass or acrylic.
He's got it too.
Card. And so you've taken that and then incorporated it right into your product. And people say, big deal. It is a big deal. You may not think so, but unless you're moving cards at a very fast rate, if these are PC cards or cards you plan on keeping,
sure.
You listen. All you got to do is go to a card show. You can see plenty of cards where the color is faded. That's
very true.
That doesn't happen by accident. That's just from natural light and sunlight sort of breaking down the color processes. So anything that can be done to slow that is just beneficial. I mean, it's
no doubt, no doubt.
Saying.
Yeah, and to go back to touch on something you mentioned earlier, John, in terms of like selling at the shows, we're working on many new products. Right now, we have two main products. The third product actually we're going to release it'll be available probably around May 1st, is actually we're going to make a tall boy slab case that will be able to hold 20 slabs of the tall boy cards, whether they're like the old supers, or the Perez Steels, or even like vintage basketball from like the early 70s. So where this idea really came from is when I first started to sell these online in the Facebook groups, people reached out to me and were like, will you please make one for tall boys? And I said, well, I have supers and I have Perez Steels and I have, vintage early basketball cards. And at that point, and I still am, I was keeping them in Tupperware cases here at the house. So I've upgraded my collection from Tupperware to the new Slab Museum. So the third product we're going to introduce is going to be a tall boy case. We also have actually a smaller desktop version of this Slab Museum that's actually going to hold 12 cards. So it'll have 4 cards front facing, 4 in the middle, and 4 in the back. So again, just a little bit of another option that's going to be a little bit smaller. And then also building a case for One Touch. So it's not necessarily slabs, but One Touches, I think, are just as popular and just important as the hobby for our cards, right, as slabs. And I've had a lot of people reach out saying, can you please build cases for One Touches? So we have One Touch cases also in the work. So we have quite a bit. When you're a small company like myself, you can actually move really fast because I only have to appease myself and basically place an order and get product in here and sell it and place another order. One of the things I did just from a business perspective early on when I was doing this was I realized I couldn't do it by myself. I knew that I needed some help within the hobby. And I went out and I found a partner who was working with me pretty much behind the scenes, but he is a true hobby veteran. A lot of people know him. And again, what I did was I knew I didn't know everything. So I knew I had to go out and find a consultant who could come and help me and teach me all the things in the hobby that I didn't know. So that was like again, that goes like to one of the things that just fell in place for me was finding the right partner and the right sounding board to kind of, keep launching this business to the next level from where we are today.
Yeah, no doubt. And it's nice to hear you too talk about, hey, I'm making them for tall boys, for one touchers, right? So you're expanding the line to encompass everyone's collection, right? It's real easy to sit on your hands. It's nice, like you said, it's a great point too by you that, hey, as a smaller business, that we can implement stuff faster. I don't have to pitch it at a board meeting to 12 people where
Right.
7 like it and 5 argue against funding it and that sort of thing, right? We've all seen, whether we've seen it live and in person or on TV shows, we know how that process can hit snags and things can take years even to get sort of from idea on a page to market, right? You don't have to worry about that. That's one of the perks of being a smaller company is you can move quicker, get it to the light of day a lot faster, and the quicker it gets to the light of day, right? The more happy
Yep.
hobbyists as a result, and to show that you're thinking about, hey, doesn't just have to be Slab. Like that's the name of the company. That's kind
Yes.
of what the main product that launched this, but we're expanding our line. We've seen that in fast food, right? Burger
Yep.
places that now they're selling other types of food, right? Not the greatest analogy, but it works close enough, right? But it shows that you're like trying to, make as many people in the hobby happy, and with anyone that sees it, aesthetically in person, you'll know exactly what we're talking about. It's easy to rave about it here. We obviously both seen the product up and close and personal, and I think that's a testament to why you're doing so well. Is once people really see, it's like anything. Hobbyists, the
Next,
hobby
probably
is
90
food.
days.
Yeah,
Sorry, John.
and
I
the
was going
hobby.
to say, our
Go ahead.
sorry, our plan is to actually roll this out to the hobby LCSs probably in the next 90 to 120 days. Right now, we just sell direct online at our website, but we know that the LCS, that this is a perfect product for them. Our product right now needs some work to sell at LCS. And what I mean by that is like right now, our product just comes in a brown box. And a lot of our competitors, that's what they deliver, this type of accessories in brown boxes. Well, we don't want brown boxes. We want to have full color boxes. We want to give a great description, what's on it. We want to link back to social media, like who we are. One of the things I really want to do is like, if you buy one of our cases, that when you go home and you load it up, that you go to the website, you show pictures of it. We kind of really want to make that connection, to the hobbyist, because showing off your cards is really cool. The cards themselves, I find actually seeing how people display their cards actually cooler. And I'm sure you've looked at many websites. When you see people put their collections out there on displays, it gets a whole lot of attention.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think we kind of compare, like, you know, I've seen many other people do things. I'm like, I want to incorporate that. Even with my show setup,
Yes. Nice.
Steve, it's just like stand up displays that take up very little space, like one row.
Yep.
I've seen others do it, and I've kind of incorporated that myself. I put LED lights to convey a message in the showcases themselves. And it's funny because I have other show dealers come about and like, that is cool, John. Like, where did you get those? And I tell them it's not a secret.
Yeah.
I
Great
didn't
idea.
design. I'm not like you where I designed them, but like I expect the next time I set up in that area, I expect to see some more LED lights in other people's cases. So, but that's the thing, right? We want to showcase our cards in the best possible fashion. Nothing wrong. We don't have to apologize for that. That's just the way it should be. And so, it's nice that you're thinking about, hey, not everyone necessarily has slabs. They have one touches
Right.
and other type things. And so we're gonna develop and evolve the line to encompass everyone's collection. Being smaller, it makes it easier. LCS is, again, that's going to be a great thing for you because
Yes.
when people come in and see those in person, if I had a store, you better believe I'd have some of my inventory in them, and people will say, "Where did you get that? How do I get one of those? I don't have a store, but I want that in my house." And so,
Yeah. And
I
John,
guess my next question, real quick, are you prepared for that sort of volume? It's a good problem to have.
the answer is today, no. If we were trying to sell them today, the answer is no. We're not prepared for that volume today. We kind of went from the walking to running really fast stage quicker than anticipated. And so, yeah, it's going to take some time to really scale up, not necessarily from having the product. That's actually kind of like the easiest thing, John, is like building a product and shipping it to the warehouse. It's having the logistics, right, of being able to handle the orders from the stores and that type of thing. That's what we need to work on to get going next.
Yeah, but I guess it's a fun problem to have, and,
It
and, and
is.
see this
Too many
product
customers.
grow. And I'm excited as a collector and a dealer to see what's next, what you got coming down the pike. Like you said, you got the tall boys coming out very soon. Then the one touches, and who knows, right?
Exactly.
If when you started this thing, this is a project that was a personal project that now
Yep.
has become a hobby wide thing, and that's the beauty of the hobby. The hobby is, you know, all across the world, right? All in other continents, right? But with social media and communications, it's actually a smaller place too. As you post, I when I posted the Slab Museum on my social medias, I got messages like, "Where did you get those? How do I get them?" And obviously, I forwarded that information for you. But that word travels fast, right? In
Yeah.
the hobby, and so once they're in LCSs, when you see them more on even a card show table, um, be prepared. You're gonna be very busy,
Yeah,
and
my goal is to be able to get a table at next year's national. That's my
yeah,
goal.
yeah, no doubt that will be huge. I don't think I need to tell you that. It just
Yeah,
goes without saying, and
no doubt.
it's good, and I get the labeling in the boxes and the color in the box. I fully get that, and I agree with you. But the product itself, once people say, like I got them, they came in the brown boxes.
Yep.
You cut the boxes down, they go into recycling, and that product just speaks speaks for itself, right? So at the end of the
Yeah,
day,
thank you.
it's what's inside the box that counts the most. But I get it. I just told you how even at a show,
Yeah,
presentation is important. So I'm not gonna be hypocritical about it. But
yeah.
again, the slab museums themselves are just tremendous. So whatever they come in, um, once people see the actual product, I think that's the selling point at the end of the day. So continued success. It's going to be exciting to see what you come up with next. I can imagine you got a giant notebook like a 5 star, and you're just drawing stuff up, and that's the fun, and probably people giving you suggestions as
I,
well. Hey, do
I
this, do that.
actually, every new product, John, has come from a suggestion.
Yeah, yeah, and that's important that your door's open, right? You see a lot of
Yes,
companies
100%. Yep.
they don't want they're a little bit closed minded, and that sort of thing, but you're not, and I think that says a lot about you and the products that you're producing. So as always, I give the guest, give out the website where people can get these great cases, see what's coming next, as well as website, social media, anything you want to get out there. Take your
Yeah,
time.
thanks, John. So, yeah, you can buy these cases at slabmuseum.com, and we are found on all the socials under Slab Museum or Seven Collectibles, which is our parent company name right now. I have to tell you, my favorite show with you, though, John, I'm not on right now, is Card Mentions with you and Danny. So maybe next Friday night, if you guys can have on another guy that can drink beer with the two of you, I'd appreciate you on.
Yeah, listen, we have fun with that show. Danny, as you know, is great. That's a different show. I know I'm
I,
biased,
I agree.
but when we launched that, which is, man, he told me like, hey, we're in our third calendar year. I didn't even realize that until he said it. Like that was crazy to me. When we launched that show, Steve, I just said to him, like, I don't want to be just another show with two guys. Like I
Right.
know we are two guys, but I just want to have fun and talk about like personal stuff. Like you never, one of my things with with that show is like you don't know what's going to be said or what's going to happen next. Sure, we have a topic, but we can go off on a tangent. We've gotten some great feedback. That show's really gained some momentum. I'm a little. I thought it would be good. You always think it'll be good, but like some of the feedback I've gotten has been tremendous, and you need that because it kind of validates what you're doing. Like it's one thing to like your own stuff, but
Right.
I think it's more when you have other people tell you. Just even with same thing with Slab Museum, like,
Yep.
hey man, that stuff's awesome. I love it. When you hear that from someone else, it's that 100% unfiltered thumbs up, and really validates kind of what you're doing. And we got a great chat room with a great group of folks, and I think I have as much fun. I said, man, if you're having half as much fun as me and Danny are on this show, we're doing all right. So,
No
yeah,
doubt.
we
I'm a big
definitely
fan.
we yeah, we'll definitely have to have you on at some point. I think the next one we've already kind of have something going on, but
That's okay.
we'll definitely have you on, and so we'll cut it up and let our hair down a little bit, so to speak. I call that like the informal show. That's like the a hobby after dark kind of thing. We still don't swear, but we're a little bit a little more loosey goosey and that sort of thing. But yeah, for sure, and we'll have some fun as well.
Great, great. Well,
Well,
I look forward to meeting you, of course, at the National this summer.
yeah, yeah, no doubt for sure. And who knows by then what you might have. I mean, are you planning? Let me ask you this before we go too. Do you?
Sure.
I know you may not be set up. Like, do you plan that maybe have inventory with you for those who maybe want to come to the national and meet you there and pick up, some of the products?
You know what? I've actually reached out to a few dealers, number one, who I think can maybe, they can sell on my behalf there, right? They have a little
Yeah.
show space on their table. Because of what we're doing, the cases are kind of big and heavy. I don't think many people want to lug them around for a couple of days. I'm going to, of course, carry samples with me just to have it at all times. But yeah, if there's any dealers out there that are interested in carrying the product and selling it to national, I'd be more than happy to work with them.
Well, there you go. And like you said, you'll be there. You'll have some samples so people at least can get a hands on
Yes.
of them.
Yep.
Like I said, pictures are great and they look great in pictures, but until these things are, you have them in your hand or you put cards in them, words can't, don't do enough justice. So I think having the product there, you're going to get a lot of reactions, positive, obviously. So, like I said, you're going to have some good problems fulfilling orders, which is always a good problem to have.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
Okay,
listen,
Jim.
we'll get you. We'll see you on card matches at some point, and we'll make it a 3-man show that week, which we've done. We've done it here and there, once or twice, and so I don't want to give it away. Next week, the next card matches, there is going to be a special guest, but we'll have
Excellent.
you on after that. So,
Great.
but Steve, hey, continued success,
Thank you,
man.
John.
Again, this is not. I'm using these. I'm sure I'll as new products come out, I'll add that to the arsenal. And even with a show line,
Yes.
eventually, even
Yep.
in that element as well. So look forward to seeing what's around the corner. Thanks for your time, Steve, and
Thank you.
continued success.